They say that America don send more their army enter inside Nigeria. As we dey talk right now, more aircraft is coming inside Nigeria. More than 3 have already landed. They don expose the reason why wey they wan take label Kwankwaso the sponsor of Boko Haram and the ISIS. No be small thing dey go on o. Only be say if you no share this video, you no go dey get this update o. Share the video so that this Facebook algorithm go dey bring our videos come dey give you. Abeg, watch these videos I want to play for you right now. Make you see wetin dey go on for inside Nigeria.
So the US military deployed 3 military aircrafts into Nigeria between Thursday and Friday, and the 3 of them landed in 3 different locations. One landed in Borno. This particular one came in with heavy materials, drones, and all kinds of military weapons and ammunition in Borno Air Base, while one landed in Kaduna Military Depot. That this particular one is said to have been coming from Ghana, and it came with military troops. Listen to the full reports of what has happened between this Thursday and Friday. The US is now putting action into their words.
United States military aircraft have landed in Maiduguri, the capital of Borno State, marking the beginning of a major deployment of American troops to Nigeria to assist in the fight against terrorism. A military plane touched down at the airbase in Maiduguri on Thursday night, followed by additional aircraft on Friday carrying equipment, ammunition, and personnel. By Friday evening, 3 American planes were spotted at the base with equipment being offloaded under the supervision of U.S. military personnel. This represents the first wave of approximately 200 American intelligence analysts, advisors, and trainers who will be working alongside Nigerian forces in targeted counter-terrorism operations. The deployment has been confirmed by both Nigerian and American officials, with Major General Samaila Uba, spokesman for Nigeria's defense headquarters, stating that the United States is providing troops to assist in training and technical support. The initial group of roughly 100 troops will steadily arrive over the weekend, with additional aircraft carrying more personnel and equipment expected to land in the coming weeks. These flights are just the beginning of what will be a continuous stream of military transport planes landing at 3 main locations across Nigeria, according to a U.S. Defense Department official who spoke on condition of anonymity. The American troops are not coming for combat roles, but rather to provide specialized expertise that the Nigerian military currently lacks. Their mission includes capacity building, professional military education, intelligence sharing, logistics support, and strategic dialogue aimed at addressing terrorism and transnational threats. Because these troops are landing in remote locations with limited infrastructure, much of their early work will involve setting up secure communications, establishing base infrastructure, and ensuring operational security in collaboration with their Nigerian counterparts. The deployment will supplement a small team of American advisors who have already been on the ground in Nigeria for some time. This unprecedented military cooperation between Nigeria and the United States follows months of escalating pressure from President Donald Trump, who has been sharply critical of the Nigerian government for what he describes as its failure to protect Christians from deadly attacks by Islamist militants and armed militias. In late December, President Trump ordered a surprise missile strike in Nigeria on Christmas Day, targeting what he called terrorist camps in Sokoto State. The strikes were symbolic, with Trump later acknowledging that he deliberately timed the operation to deliver what he called a Christmas present to the insurgents. He had previously threatened to go into Nigeria with military force if the violence against Christians did not stop, describing it as an existential threat to Christianity. If you are finding this report informative and want to understand how international military cooperation works and what it means for Nigeria's security, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel so you never miss critical updates on developments that affect our country. However, the Nigerian government has firmly rejected President Trump's characterization of the violence as a Christian genocide. Nigerian officials maintain that terrorist groups, including Boko Haram and ISIS West Africa, have made no distinction between Christians and Muslims in their attacks, with extremists killing thousands of people at churches, mosques, and villages without discrimination. Beyond religious sectarianism, Nigerian authorities emphasize that much of the violence also stems from long-standing disputes over land and water resources between farming and herding communities, particularly in the Middle Belt region, where climate change and population growth have intensified competition for scarce resources. Moving forward, the combined US and Nigerian forces will build joint mission planning capabilities, relying on intelligence gathered from both Nigerian and American sources. This includes data from US surveillance flights that have been operating from a base in neighboring Ghana since late last year. The surveillance operations provide real-time information about terrorist movements, hideouts, and planned attacks, which will be crucial in targeting high-value individuals and disrupting terrorist networks. The Americans bring advanced drone technology, precision air capabilities, and sophisticated intelligence gathering tools that Nigeria does not currently possess in sufficient quantities. While General Uba declined to say exactly how long the American troops would be deployed in Nigeria, Pentagon officials have suggested that this specific mission is temporary and focused on supporting a particular set of operations. The flow of forces is scheduled to last for a couple of months, though officials have indicated that successful joint operations could lead to further deployments in the future. This represents a significant shift in U.S. military engagement in West Africa, particularly after America was forced to abandon its bases in neighboring Niger following a military coup in that country in 2024. Security and defense experts have weighed in on the deployment, describing it as technical support rather than a combat mission. Retired Army Intelligence Corps officer Chris Andrew explained that the Americans are bringing specialized expertise, particularly in drone operations and precision air capabilities, not frontline fighters. The focus is on training Nigerian personnel to use advanced equipment, improving intelligence gathering and analysis, and helping the military develop more effective strategies for combating terrorism. This approach is meant to build Nigeria's long-term capacity to handle its security challenges independently rather than creating dependence on foreign troops. General Dagvin Anderson, commander of U.S. Africa Command, emphasized that this mission is focused on partnership and mutual respect for Nigeria's sovereignty. All engagements will be conducted in accordance with existing bilateral frameworks, with Nigerian forces remaining fully in charge of all operations and decision-making on the ground. The goal is to protect innocent lives and disrupt violent extremist organizations wherever they operate, while respecting the territorial integrity and independence of partner nations. The arrival of U.S. troops in Maiduguri carries symbolic significance, as the city has been the epicenter of the Boko Haram insurgency for a decade. Maiduguri has endured countless suicide bombings, attacks, and displacement of millions of people, making it a fitting location for international efforts to combat terrorism. The presence of American forces sends a message to terrorist groups that they now face not just the Nigerian military, but also the technological and intelligence capabilities of the United States military.
This man has exposed the reason why the US added Kwankwaso among the list of those they are planning to sanction for terrorism. This man has exposed exactly what Kwankwaso did. And it will shock you to know that we all live in this country and these things happened and we did not know. How did the US, let me not say too much, listen to him.
Issue 1, the US bill. A bill to confront Nigeria's untouchable big men just dropped in Washington, D.C. Was it day before yesterday? For years, Nigerians whispered, Nigerians hoped. Where are the names of these people? Now a US bill is putting names into official discussion, names of people we know financed terrorism, people who have been implicated, names. That is what Nigerians want. They want them no matter the reasons, because the various reasons. The proposed bill in the United States Congress is titled Nigeria Religious Freedom and Accountability Act of 2026. That is the name of the bill in the United States Congress in Washington, D.C. This bill was sponsored by these U.S. congressmen: Chris Smith of New Jersey, Riley Moore of West Virginia, Brian Mast of Florida, Mario Diaz-Balart of Florida, Bill Huizenga of Michigan. Those good human beings compiled this bill. This bill was fashioned and still worked on after the Christmas Sokoto Caliphate Trump Tomahawk strikes. Something had to come up. This bill requires a comprehensive U.S. government report on religious persecution in Nigeria and mass atrocities in Nigeria. Now, media reports from Solace Base, NPO reports, and others indicate that this draft language proposes the following: visa ban to ban all those big men, asset freeze the assets in the United States, possible magnitsky sanctions, stop their children from coming to study in the U.S. And the specific names reported as mentioned in this bill include Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, Mieti Allah groups, Fulani ethnic nomad militias. This is important to say. We always list facts. You know about this show. This is a proposed legislation. It is not enacted law yet. No sanctions have yet been imposed. But we can't wait. We want sanctions. We want this man sanctions so that people will stop dying. My opinion, and the take of the Kwankwaso, sanctions against these men and the organizations are long overdue. You know how many lives could have been saved? U.S. Congress, I beg you to do it now. We thank you for this, but move quickly and exact accountability from these Powerful Nigerian political actors, as no one would do in Nigeria. No one would do this to them. They are the rulers, they rule. They claim they have a constitution, but they rule. Today, we are only going to do one name on the list. And one name we would like on that list. Another podcast, another name. It's going to be one podcast per name. So let's start with name number 1 on the list. Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, former governor of Kano State. We are going to politically indict Kwankwaso. I thank the US senators for having his name on this list. There's been too many whispers. Kwankwaso is not a neutral actor in this debate. He's running around Nigeria as a politician. He was a central political figure during Kano State's adoption of Sharia criminal codes beginning in 1999 to 2000. I remember those days, Obasanjo let him get away with it. Obasanjo. Those codes include blasphemy provisions, punishable by death. That is historical record, ladies and gentlemen. The expansion of Sharia across northern states at that time, a very specific period, I've named it for you, 1999-2000, was deeply controversial. It's not as if the country accepted it. Obasanjo let it happen. Christian groups, including SCAN, strongly opposed it, Christian Association of Nigeria. It marked a profound shift in Nigeria's legal architecture, creating parallel systems in parts of the country. You have 2 countries, 1 country, 2 laws. Supporters who supported this Sharia called religious autonomy. Critics argued that it deepened sectarian division in Nigeria and it institutionalized equal citizenship. That is why some are more equal than others. That debate has never been settled and it has never fully been scrutinized internationally. Now they're looking at it with a lens all over the world for more than 2 decades. Nigeria's political class largely escapes certain accountability on religious freedom issues. They travel to UN, see them wearing big agbada, walk around. Nobody knows the wickedness that they left at home. That era may be ending. Ladies and gentlemen, in 2026, laws that carry death penalties for speech cannot escape international scrutiny in a globalized world. Not in this world today. Nigerian diasporans have flooded DC. Go there, you're going to see them all over the place. And they are now actively engaging US lawmakers on religious freedom concerns, giving them the facts. Facts that have been taped for decades. That is political advocacy. That is democratic process. That should be praised. We should praise those Nigerians. So the question for Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso is simple. It's not complicated. I see him trying to give excuses and issue statements for Americans. Does he still stand by blasphemy punishable by death? That's the question. Is he prepared, Rabiu Kwankwaso, publicly and clearly to renounce that bill, that Sharia? If he believes those laws are just, let him defend them openly. Let him come to CNN and talk about how Sharia is good. If he does not, Rabiu Kwankwaso should come out publicly and say so. Let him not hide behind press statements. Hide behind Tinubu. Silence is no longer neutral in 2026. This is 2026. You can say Ribadu, you can say Remi Tinubu, but people like Kwankwaso have to answer. You should fall. As you can imagine, they keep responding. Let me give you Kwankwaso's response. To be fair, Rabiu Kwankwaso and his political movement, Kwankwasia in Kano, and the NNPP, the party founded by Kwankwaso, has rejected the reporting and these claims I just made. They've described it as malicious, politically motivated, and lacking evidence. They argue that the foreign interference and reputational damage is bad for Nigeria, as if they didn't used to go and troop there to go and beg Obama. That is their position. My own position, Kwankwaso. I'll give you my position, the official position. I support the provisions in the bill that seeks to ban visa, that seeks to ban Kwankwaso from entering the United States. Don't allow him in the United States. I support that bill 100%. I, in addition, support another provision that people don't understand. It seeks to freeze his assets in the U.S., assets of the people like him. Bam! Let us see how he and his co-travelers will continue supporting blasphemy laws in modern 2026 Nigeria. Of course, APC, Tinubu's party, responded. APC that is absorbing every party by force, essentially, technically. The APC also criticized the proposal because they're hiding. APC is hiding under Tinubu and Tinubu under APC. They argue that no individual should be labeled or sanctioned based on allegations. Really? Is Kwankwaso aware of what Tinubu, what Ribadu said in DC? They say that the process must be evidence-based. In Nigeria, evidence in Nigeria. Again, that is the official stand. The place where the courts are totally compromised and bought. My stand, APC is giving excuses for its failure to protect Nigerians. The Nigerian courts have been compromised, they've been bought. Good. We have presented both sides. I have presented my own clear opinion and that of the Ofiong Akwasho on that proposed bill, clearly without equivocation. If you noticed, when I presented my opinion, I did not stutter. That was my opinion. Deal with Kwankwaso. This This issue is bigger than the El-Rufais who run around Nigeria as if they're privileged more than any other Nigerian. It is bigger than Kwankwaso. It is bigger than even Tinubu, who is now proving himself in a position where he's working for them. It's about whether Nigerian political elites believe that they are untouchable, that nothing can ever happen to them no matter what they do, and whether the world is finally watching. Simple. Subscribe, comment, push notifications. This is the Kwankwaso show. We don't report events, we track where they lead. I am the voice for the voiceless. Your independent voice, for fighting for you, telling fearless truths. And sometimes I laugh. I look at the way Tinubu behaves. The other day went and fell down in Turkey. I did laugh. I am Ofiong Okwa. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other. Make we go.
Guys, share this video, drop your own opinion for inside comment section so that you will get more update of waiting they happen. This time around, the only way you need na information. You don't need anything. Information. May you know the time where you want to carry your bag, enter inside bush, go save your head though.